Welcome, friends, to my channel. I took a wood surface box that I already had and I painted over it with the Glazed Donut by paintpixie. I did put 2 coats because the box was gray and it did take 2 coats. Now I've mixed a little bit of Blackberry cobbler and Caribbean cooler, mixed those together to match the background of my print that I'm going to put on here. And I'm just taking my tool and putting just a little bit of paint to make it look chippy. And this is a method that you can use with your palette knife to make it look more chippy. So I did the edges. Now I'm going to take this larger one. And if you get too much paint, you can take some off. And then you just kind of want to go across your surface and on the sides and just put a little bit of paint to make it look more like a chippy method where you don't have to do the 2 coats and scratch it off. I like this method, very simple and easy. So now I'm going to dry that up really well. And then I took my sandpaper and just sanded just a little bit to make it look a little bit more of a chippy look in places. And make sure I get that dust off. And now I'm going to use this beautiful print from Digital Deco Designs. I took my edges off with the little tool that you saw there. And now I'm going to use my force field. I'm using that from my decoupage medium. I'm putting that on the bottom. And that is also by paintpixie. I'm just giving it a little quick dry. I didn't dry it all the way, but pretty close. Now I'm going to move my print toward the bottom because I'm going to put something on top. Isn't she gorgeous? I love this print. I love the blue in the background, and I love the color that I came out with. Now I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper in my little travel iron, and I'm just going to go over this and give it a good finish on the edges. The iron just helps it hold a little bit better. And now I'm just going to dry that up just a little bit to make sure that it's good on the edges and that the adhesion is good on my surface. Now I'm going to take a little bit of bee's knees, and that is the wax from paintpixie, and that is in the white that I used first. And then I'm going to use brown on top of that. The reason I put the white on is it helps the brown not be so dark to where you can kind of pull some off or use your finger and get a little bit of that brown off if it's too much. You see how it's a little darker on the edges? So I was able to control that a little bit better by putting a clear or a white wax underneath. And now I'm going to take a piece of trim that I have, and I used pixie dough from paintpixie to make this piece that we're using, and it's very flexible. So when it dries, it's still flexible, and I love using this product. I painted up in the leftover paint that I had that I used on the background, gave it a good coating, had to touch it back up in a couple of places and on the sides. Got that all fixed to where we could dry that up. And now I'm going to take my Type Bond glue and put on the back. And then I'm going to take just a little bit of my hot glue and just put a tad at each end. That's going to hold those ends in. Love that piece on top, and I'm just going to touch it up just a little bit in a couple of places where I touched it. It wasn't completely dry. Fix that up. I love that color. That looks gorgeous. Then I'm going to take some of my B7000, and I'm going to put a couple of jewels from Totally Dazzled on there. That just sets that piece off. And now I'm going to take a little bitty snowflake that I have from Totally Dazzled, and I'm going to put that on her collar or on her scarf that's there. And that's just going to give it another little look. Isn't she gorgeous? She came out really pretty. I really love her. Now, I decided I'm going to make it a shelf sitter. So I will paint my back. That's the back side of that box, and I will give it a painting. And now I'm going to put the block on there, and you want to lean your piece back just a little bit to fit your block so that it will stand up. If you put it straight on, it usually will tip. Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.